This isn't where things end, friends.
I want to see you so badly.
I hope this journey will bring us together again.
What's up guys, Stevie here with Lucky Crit. Recently a couple of new trailers were added to the official Fire Emblem Echoes Japanese website, and there's a bit of new and interesting information that we can glean from them, so let's take a look. I'm going to put a minor spoiler warning here, as these are officially released Nintendo trailers, so they don't reveal too much. However, there are clearly some plot events that are shown briefly in some of these trailers, so if you don't want to know anything at all more than you do already about the plot, then I'll have to see you next time. But thanks so much for tuning in. For those of you unafraid of seeing some brief shots of the plot, that were deemed okay to be revealed in Nintendo's own trailers for the game, let's go. To start things off, we've got more footage of soldiers running through the woods in the Battle of the Deliverance versus the Regalian forces, and we get to see a cool spin attack Alm does, attacking an enemy soldier. Next, Clive appears, talking in what looks to be a base or a castle. Celica then attacks an arcanist or a sorcerer, and then we can see Celica talking to May, with Bowie and Jenny also in the background of the Novus Monastery, presumably at the beginning of her story in Chapter 2. We then see Alm entering a dungeon that looks like what should be the Deliverance HQ based upon its location on the world map, but the footage jumps to another dungeon that could be the Forest Temple, where Alm attacks what looks to be a gargoyle. Next we've got another big battle from further on with a night boss. Something I want to mention here, since I haven't mentioned it in the previous episodes since the data mine, the exact Gaiden maps have been recreated extremely faithfully here in Echoes, which in some cases leads to some very big and empty looking areas. But honestly, with how beloved Gaiden is, I don't think this will be a huge detriment to the game. Back then, they focused more on enemies and mechanics than they did on map design, so hopefully it'll still be fine. Perhaps this will just feel like, you know, having all of your units run across a giant battlefield to meet your opponents in the center. I'd love to know how you feel about this in the comment section down below though. Not all of the Gaiden maps were quite like this, but a good amount were. I believe it's also been revealed that a few maps have been created for the game in this style to remain consistent. Next we can see Matilda the Paladin, recruitable on Alm's route, promoting at a Mila statue into what looks to be a gold knight. And finally we're presented with a shot of a ghostly spiritual Celica flying through Alm, and judging by how this scene is framed, it looks like she is trying to stop him. Whether this is the ghost or spirit of Celica, or just some sort of manifestation of her magic to send a message to Alm, is unclear. While I could try to pinpoint where and when this takes place based on the events of the Gaiden story, I'm not really looking to delve into spoiler territory to that degree, so I'll leave it at that. It is interesting though. The next trailer showcases a lot of cutscene footage that we've seen before, with a few new snippets like Alm panting on the bridge and Celica panting while running up the stairs. The very end of the trailer seems to imply a very heightened conflict between the two main characters, and it looks like they might be stabbing each other. Whether it's for real, or just a sequence or a dream scenario, like Celica's nightmare, is unclear. That's a really interesting choice though, pitting the two main characters against each other. In the next trailer we get to see a few more examples of skill animations, though these seem to be Gale Lance and Crosswise again. We can then see Clive talking to Matilda and Celica talking to Valbar. The next clip is of the triangle attack that can be performed by having the three Pegasus Knight sisters, Palla, Catria, and Est, all attack an enemy together while surrounding them. Then we get to see Celica performing a very fiery spell, which is likely Ragnarok, a spell that only she and Delthea get access to. Finally, we can see what looks to be a promoted Alm wielding the Falchion and potentially using a powerful skill. Lastly, the website also released a nifty class trailer where we can see examples of all the in-game classes and their stats. This is also a really cool way of seeing what all the units will look like in battle. Spoiler alert if you don't want to know all of the units that will be playable in-game. Though they won't all be shown here, at least one of every class will. First up is Alm as the fighter class, his standard class. Next up is Cliff as a villager. What's cool about this is we can definitely see just how far the models have come since the models that we had in Awakening. Then we've got Clive as a cavalier, Saber as a mercenary, Lucas as a soldier, May and Bowie as mages, Celica as a priestess, Jenny as a cleric, Claire as a Pegasus Knight, Python as an archer, Matilda as a paladin. Next up we've got Dean as a Myrmidon, Valbar as a knight, Tatiana as a saint. Now we've got Palla as a Falco Knight, And if you look at that stat spread, it's pretty clear why there isn't a third tier to the Pegasus Knight line in Gaiden and Echoes, and why they got nerfed a little bit in Fire Emblem Echoes as well. Now we've got Leon as a sniper, Noma as a sage, and for the third tier classes we have Mycen as a gold knight, Gray as a demon fighter, Forsyth as a baron, and Tobin as a bow knight. Then we get a quick run through of some of the enemy classes. First up are the brigands or thieves, the only units in Gaiden and Echoes to use axes, as unfortunately we didn't receive any new axe users in Fire Emblem Echoes. Next are the sorcerers, sometimes known as arcanists. Then what looks to be a witch. Up next is the shaman class, which we referred to as summoner in previous episodes, and may also be localized as exorcists. Then we can see the revenants, or the normal zombies, bone walkers, moguls with legitimately creepy eyes, gargoyles who wield scythes with their feet, Majins, which are demonic versions of the Baron class, and finishing up with the Draco zombies. And that's going to wrap up today's episode, guys. Once again, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the news, be sure to slash the thumbs up and comment Echoes in the comment section down below, and also be sure to let me know what you think of Fire Emblem Echoes and if you're still super hyped for it. Does this new information get you even more hyped? I'd love to know. Also be sure to subscribe if you haven't already to stay up to date on our content, and follow us on Twitter at LuckyCritGaming for news revealed on the fly and updates that might not make it into these episodes. And I'll see you guys next time.